Tomas de Aquino. Aquinas is not a family name. In the tradition, if one is born to a noble family, the name of the place of his birth is added to the first name. Tomas was born in the castle of Roccasecca, Aquino, then part of Italy. Thus, Tomas de Aquino, or Tomas of Aquino. In English rendition, Thomas Aquinas. And like Plato, a pagan philosopher, Saint Thomas is the epitome of Christian philosophy in the medieval ages. He is considered as the doctor of the church. Such title is given by the Catholic magisterium to saints recognized as having made a significant contribution to theology or doctrine through the research, study, or writing. Saint Thomas wrote voluminous works on theology and philosophy. His two major writings, Summa Theologica and Summa Contra Gentiles. In all of his writings, Saint Thomas gives high respect to Aristotle as the philosopher. Thus, we can't deny the fact that Saint Thomas is much influenced by Aristotle. Before I proceed to the moral theory of Saint Thomas Aquinas, let's have some of his biographical notes. Saint Thomas is an Italian Dominican friar. At the age of 5, Thomas began his early education at Monte Cassino. At the age of 19, Thomas joined the Dominican order, but to the dismay of his family. To prevent him to enter the monastic life, his family held Thomas a prisoner for almost a year in their family castles. But no one has stopped Thomas, even his family, to follow his heart's desire to live a monastic life and become a great saint of the church. In 1245, Thomas was sent to study at the Faculty of the Arts at the University of Paris, where he met Albertus Magnus, Albert the Great, who is said to be the master of young Thomas. Now let's have the moral theory of Saint Thomas. The moral theory of Saint Thomas synthesized the two great traditions, namely Aristotelian philosophy and Christian theology. Aristotle is a Greek philosopher, a student of Plato, again a pagan thinker like his master Plato. As mentioned above, Aristotle is given the credit as the philosopher in the writings of Saint Thomas. Christian theology, on the other hand, is propounded by the patristic fathers like Saint Augustine. The core of Thomas's moral philosophy is the realization of man's nature as a reflection of God's goodness. But because of original sin, man's natural goodness became corrupted. To become once again worthy in the eyes of God, we need to perfect our human nature as good by following the voice of our conscience. To start, let me pose this question: is man naturally good? St. Thomas affirms that man is naturally good. He borrowed the idea of St. Augustine that man is created by God who is good. In fact, all of God's creation is good. Man is part of God's creation, so he or she is naturally good. But because of original sin, his or her nature is also fallen or corrupted. Nobody is perfect like God the Father. Yes, this is true. Our good nature becomes corrupted, thus not totally perfect, because of the original sin committed by Adam and Eve. Thus there is a need for us to perfect our human nature by doing good actions. Our human effort to do good will make our human nature perfect once more. Being moral is our way to perfect our human nature as good. As we can see, morality is really important in our Christian life. Being moral is not a mere requirement as followers of Christ, but being moral is the way to become perfect once more in the eyes of God. Let's try to elaborate this last point in the context of Aristotelian ethics. Aristotle claims that man is a composite of body and soul. As a composition of body and soul, man must have a substantial form, or the essence of being human. He defines essence or substance as that which remains the same throughout the process of change. What we usually notice is that man changes and keeps on changing. From infancy to old age, we notice a lot of changes in ourselves. But amidst these changes in us, there is something that remains the same. That is our reason. Thus, it is our reason that defines our essence as humans. This is also what makes us different from animals. Man is essentially rational. As Aristotle would put it, our reason or rational capacity is also the proper function of being human. If a gun is made essentially for firing, then firing is also its proper function. If a plant is made essentially for producing oxygen, then oxygen production is also its proper function. If an animal is made essentially for reproduction of its species, then it is also its proper function. Is the reproduction of species essentially what we are made for? The answer of Aristotle is no. Man is made essentially for becoming rational. Then being rational is also his proper function. So how should man function in relation to others? How do we function as rational beings in the society? For Aristotle, the only proper function of man in the society is to be rational. How? Do actions to the right person at the right time, at the right place, at the right circumstance, at the right disposition, and so on. Then how do we know that we are doing action to the right person at the right time, at the right place, at the right circumstance, and on? We know it because we are rational, meaning our reason dictates what is right. If we know what is right, we will also what is right, which is also our final goal in life. For Aristotle, there is no other purpose of man on earth except being rational. Doing good is our human nature as rational beings. It is also our final goal in life on earth. There is no other, no world of ideas or heaven where we find our ultimate happiness. Our happiness is in doing the right thing because that's what we are meant to be. This is the idea of eudaimonia of Aristotle, which is happiness in doing the right thing to do. St. Thomas is in agreement in much of this thought of Aristotle, but because of his background in Christian theology, he added the idea that by nature, man is good because he or she is created by God who is good. On this basis, it would become clear that for St. Thomas, doing good is not because we think it is the right thing to do, but because it is our nature to do good. In other words, being moral is not based on right reason, but based on our nature as created in the image and likeness of God. The goodness of God is written in our hearts, which is referred to as the natural law. This natural law is a participation of the eternal law emanating in all other beings. This natural law serves as the fundamental principle of morality, which is written in the form of do good and avoid evil. Our human will, in Visaya pagbuot, has the natural capacity or disposition to apprehend intuitively the fundamental moral principle, which medieval philosophers termed as synderesis. So it is always the case that we will what is good. The voice of conscience always tells, but not commands, to do what is good. In its literal sense, conscience means with knowledge, from two Latin words con, meaning with, scientia, meaning knowledge. Thus, in all circumstances, we will with knowledge of the good. No one wills what is bad for himself or to others. Our human will, in Visaya pagbuot, at the very least the free will, is always for the good. Now, what do we mean by free will? Free will meaning our willing which is free. Free from overriding passions, free from emotions, free from self-inclination, free from the influence of drugs, free from the influence of alcohol, free from external pressures, free from external force, and so on and on. If our willing is at the very least free, then our willing is always with the knowledge of the good. In other words, we act or make decisions with the knowledge of the good. If we fail to listen to the voice of conscience, that's the time we feel remorse or feel guilty of doing things not in accordance with our good nature. A person who follows always his conscience is one who possesses these cardinal virtues. By the way, virtue is a habit that disposes an agent to perform its proper operation or movement. So we have the four cardinal virtues. One is prudence, another one is justice, another one is temperance, another one is courage. Prudence means wisdom concerning human affairs, or right reason with respect to action. Justice means sustained or constant willingness to extend to each person what he or she deserves. Temperance refers to restrained desire for physical gratification. Courage means a virtue that restrains our fears so that we might endure harrowing circumstances. So the man of conscience is one who is prudent, just, moderate, with temperance, and courageous. As a conclusion, like Aristotle, who believes that doing good is the realization of being human, St. Thomas believes that doing good is the perfection of our fallen human nature. But unlike Aristotle, who believes that doing good is our ultimate happiness, St. Thomas believes that our ultimate happiness is when we go back to heaven. In other words, doing good is our means to achieve our ultimate end, which is to go back to our heavenly paradise.